one word to describe the album would be
creative.
Very unique.
Epic.
Honestly, I'd probably say moving.
I think I gotta say gratifying, at least personally.
It has elements of pop music and funk music and some Broadway vibes in there. It's kind of hard to place under one genre. It is a blend that people haven't heard but will love nonetheless.
It's a lot of different inspirations, all drawn from different places.
Each song has its own feel and definitely sounds different, but at the same time, each song fits the style of our band.
The album is very complete, I think. It starts fast and upbeat and then gets slower and more somber. And then it's very climactic at the end, so it's a cohesive album, which I very much like. I think it works quite well.
I think audiences can expect to hear how much fun we had while making this album. It just gives off that certain energy that even if this isn't your genre of music, I think it's just very easy to enjoy it and hear how much fun we had.
Definitely expect to hear some flashy, catchy melodies and some really pretty ballad sections.
I think if you enjoyed the EP, you'll definitely enjoy the album. Very similar, but also takes it in some new directions, which is very interesting.
Early on, there was definitely a big question mark on whether we were even going to be able to record it, and I'm really happy this album has happened.
I think our music is interesting in part because it's quite varied stylistically, but at the same time, it's a somewhat distinct sound. So if you're going into it for the first time, you could just expect to hear Waffle Mishap, which is pretty cool.
It has turned into something that I'm very proud of, and I'm very happy we were able to do. Watch your step.
So, we recorded the drums for this. We texted our wonderful engineer, Frank, and we asked him, hey, we're looking to record an album, but we wanted to record it ourselves and have you mix it. And he got back to us and he said, for drums, the most important thing is a good sounding room. You record in a room where the ceilings aren't that high, like these ceilings are probably 7-8 feet. Sounds very boxy. So what Michael and I did right before we started drums is we took my snare drum and a drumstick and we walked around every room we could think of and just hit the snare to see what it sounded like. And eventually we realized, hey, my grandparents have this garage where they keep their Corvette, and maybe we could back the Corvette out. And it's a very, very tall ceiling room. And we went there and we hit a snare drum and it just had this really, really nice ring that really didn't feel boxy. So we came back to my house, packed up my drums, threw everything, every piece of equipment that we could think of in Mike's car.
That's a lot of crap.
Packed everything up in the afternoon and spent the rest of that night setting up to then begin recording the following day. And it was very interesting recording in a garage. Number one, with no AC, playing drums can be very, very hot.
Cool beans, man. I feel like the groove in the first chorus is a little lackluster.
Yeah, I think that was the first time I played through it.
Mm-hmm. I also feel like, I don't know, maybe it'll sit better with the whole band. Just the whole, it doesn't feel like settled to me. The place where you record drums is so much more important than where you record everything else. We only recorded the drums in Joe's grandparents' garage because they had really high ceilings. It was a very vibrant room. If we recorded just say in Joe's basement, the drums would have sounded far different than where we actually did record them. recorded the drums there. It was very hot. We spent like 4 days there. And we weren't even using super expensive equipment in the garage. But because of the room, it ended up sounding really good, and what Frank over at Voodoo was able to do with it when he was mixing it made it sound very good.
It was also interesting doing it all ourselves. We basically recorded everything on this laptop. Then we came back here, and I had to sit through and pick out the best takes, because really the drums are the foundation of a song. So we had to pick which takes we liked, which takes we didn't, and kind of comp everything together so that we could then start the next process. I think we did keys next. Laptop?
Oh yeah.
Oh shoot, I got the
This band has been really fun to play with because, in part, I think we're not only okay at what we do, but somewhat unique in how we do it. So you couldn't replace any of us with just a different musician and have it sound like Waffle Mishap.
Over time, we've drawn influence from people like John Bellion and Lawrence, the band, Dirty Loops, the Neil Morse Band, Rush.
Definitely, Main Squeeze, Ripe, The Dip, what else? Lawrence. These strings.
I ended up having hours upon hours to write and plan and practice and to develop, and honestly, it's hard to imagine what my life over the course of the past few months would have been like if the pandemic didn't happen.
It's given me more free time to practice and listen to music, so I guess in some ways it's actually been pretty beneficial.
I remember hearing in an interview Keith Richards say that the thing that really defined his style was the right wrist, or the picking wrist, which I think I internalized because a lot of the rhythm guitar parts I play, I'm really attacking the strings, which makes those parts more compelling, I believe. And as far as what I actually play, I've always liked someone like Johnny Marr, the Smiths, I guess, playing parts that carry their own melody and counterpoint and are interesting on their own. But I don't really think about influences while I'm playing because I think there are just people I've listened to so much that I would have to try to not play like them. So I think I just play the way I play, and that's what it is. Not playing with much of anyone else has caused me to practice things that are individual to me, which I guess has caused me to improve as a guitar player faster than I have in a while. But I don't know, I really do miss playing with other people. It's irreplaceable, I guess.
So musical influences for my playing is definitely Mike Portnoy from Dream Theater and Neil Peart 100% from Rush. As of more recently, Bard Coldstad from the band Leprous and Ray Hearn from the band Haken. Definitely you can, I think, if you listen to those bands, you'll hear it. They're playing in my playing. But also I'd like to think it has kind of my style as well, my own kind of interpretations, so that's what you can hear my playing.
So I grew up playing and listening to a lot of funk music. stuff like Stevie Wonder, Earth, Wind and Fire, that type of stuff. And then my later years in high school and kind of into college, and now I go to school for it, I fell in love with jazz. So my playing is very out there, in your face, loud. And then it also has a hint of the intricacy and the harmony of jazz.
So after we write the tune, we have to put everything into sheet music so it's exactly the same. So when we're recording and taking multiple takes, we can line everything up perfectly. So we can't just learn the song and then play. You have to write everything out. So that's why we have spent countless hours doing this. This is just one of, what, six charts. This is one of the longer ones, but they're all pretty involved.
I was studying in Paris, and I was experiencing a lot of new things, a lot of new teaching philosophies from my teachers, meeting a lot of cool musicians, listening to different music, having so much experience and exposure leading up to a period where I could really just dwell on that and ingrain it. The fact that I'm not playing with live musicians really that much, or playing for a live audience anymore. I mean, not that I didn't love playing like that already, but now I am just so pumped to get back into that.
When talking about my performance on this album, I like to talk about it as the whole horn section, not just me. And that is because having our horn section really adds a nice dynamic to our music. And playing with Golub and Blake is just inspiring. They're fantastic players. And, you know, I just love that we add that to our music. As a saxophone player, I'd say that the musicians who have influenced me the most are Chad L.B. and Richie Kanata, who is Billy Joel's former sax player. There are definitely both positives and negatives with the pandemic and how it has affected me as a musician, but I still think that the pandemic has had a positive outcome on my development as a musician. It's given me a lot of time to work on my craft and perfect my sound and come into my own as who I want to be as a saxophone player.
Ooh, starts with us. Ooh,
I think in general, the kind of soulful tone that I've been trying to get probably comes from singers like Adele, Amy Winehouse, Ella Fitzgerald. Singers like those kind of bring such an emotion to the table that I think is really, really powerful. And sometimes just the imperfections of the human voice are what make it really, really powerful and really beautiful.
Got all of this destruction in the next room. I'm being taken by the thought of us. Get out of here and where we go. You say up to the high point in Los Angeles. Talked it over with myself, there's really nothing left to discuss.
Lyric writing is a pretty personal thing. And a lot of the songs that we've written are either directly pulled from experiences that Mike or I have had, or are based off of things that have happened to us. So all of the songs do have some level of personal meaning to Mike or I. They come from our experiences, but I don't think that takes away from the fact that they're pretty applicable to the listener with whatever they're going through, whatever experiences they've had.
The weirdest thing about writing lyrics is it just can't be forced. I have never sat down and was like, I'm gonna write a song today. The lyrics come from a place of spontaneous inspiration. So, some of the sadder songs, if, you know, someone close to me passed away, or if our relationship ended, or if, you know, something got me down that was just like a freak thing, some sort of idea might pop into my head, or some sort of inspiration might be struck within me that would just have me start writing. Usually I don't write music or write lyrics rather, if it doesn't come to me because they come out cheesy. I want it to feature me and Jordan Raup equally. So I'm writing my verse exactly from how I'm feeling. You really have to dive deep into what you're really feeling and not just trying to, think, oh, what would rhyme? What are you really trying to say?